My WWE Elimination Chamber 2014 pay-per-view review. The pay-per-view just went out there a little while ago. As far as my thoughts on the show, overall, it wasn't a bad show from WWE. It actually was a fairly good show. There was some stuff on the undercard that obviously a lot of us could have dealt without, but you saw two awesome matches on the show. Obviously, the match everyone was looking forward to going into the show was not a disappointment at all. The six-man tag with the Wyatts versus the Shield was awesome. Definitely, in my opinion, WWE's best match so far this year. And definitely an early, match of the year contender. Definitely a match everyone needs to go out their way to see. Some great stuff in there with that six-man tag. I think it delivered what everyone was expecting. I mean, the crowd was hot for that whole entire match. I mean, just when the entrances were taking place and they were just coming to when the Wyatts were coming to the ring with the Shield already in the ring, the crowd was already chanting, "This was awesome." This is how much the crowd was into this. It was definitely the thing the crowd was the most hottest for, the whole most into the whole entire night. And the WWE Elimination Chamber match, the main event for the WWE title in the Elimination Chamber, was really good. Some really good stuff in there from every competitor. Obviously, I know a lot of people are not going to like the ending to the Chamber match because of the whole, Orton retained the title over, basically Kane coming in the chamber, screwing over Daniel Bryan. But they really played to the crowd very well, and a lot of us were like, when Orton hit that first RKO on Daniel Bryan, a lot of us thought it was over already right then. Then he had to hit a second RKO after, basically Kane, got back up, struck Daniel Bryan, and, Kane screws over Daniel Bryan. Now, there was a way WWE could go with this whole Daniel Bryan getting screwed over tomorrow night on Raw and finally giving the fans what they want. I'll get into that when I get into my thoughts on the Chamber match, but I think they can pull something tomorrow night that possibly can make, the fans get something that they finally want, which is, in my opinion, Daniel Bryan becoming WWE champion. That's what I think there's a slight chance that might happen on Raw tomorrow night, but I'll give my thoughts on how I think they should pull that off if they do go that route. On the pre-show, you had the Rhodes brothers versus Ryback and Curtis Axel. Wasn't a terrible match. I mean, it was what you would expect with the pre-show match. Nothing too bad, but nothing really to write home about. Cody Rhodes wins the match after hitting the crossroads to Curtis Axel in this match. Curtis Axel in his hometown gets the loss, which a lot of people, whenever you're in your hometown, you have to do the job, and that's what Curtis Axel did here. And the Rhodes brothers win. For a pre-show match, wasn't too bad, watchable. 1 and 3/4 stars, 2-star match. Then you had the opening match of the pay-per-view was Jack Swagger versus Big E for the IC title. The crowd was really into this. There was some parts within the match that I thought they did drag on a little bit, but there was some really entertaining stuff in here. They started off really good, then started getting a little slow pace. Then the last couple minutes of the match was really good. Loved the spot with Big E doing the spear through the ropes outside to the ring to Swagger. Swagger did some decent stuff in here as well. And the end of the match comes with Big E hitting the big ending after Jack Swagger is trying to have him getting tapped out from the ankle lock. Then Big E ends up reversing it, getting him out of there. Big E ends up hitting the big ending for the match to retain the IC title. Not a bad match to start the pay-per-view. About 2.5 stars. And the crowd was into the match. Then the next matchup was the New Age Outlaws versus the Usos. The way they did this is obviously it's probably teasing that the Usos might finally get the tag team titles at WrestleMania. At least that's what it looked like they'll probably go with here. They didn't have a bad match. It was watchable at best, but nothing too bad. The crowd's always into the Usos. New Age Outlaws, I mean, the crowd loves when they come out there and do their old, shtick coming to the ring. But as far as in the ring, the crowd is not really, not behind them that much as far as when they're actually in the ring wrestling. The Usos, got in their stuff. The New Age Outlaws did what they did as well. New Age Outlaws retained the title via a roll-up, so they kind of, got the fluke-type win over the Usos here. Obviously, with the New Age Outlaws retaining the tag titles here, I don't know if we'll see this exact match at WrestleMania, like a, just a regular tag team match, or will we see, a multi person tag team match with four teams. That's what they might do. But if they just want to do 2 tag teams against each other for the straps and give the Usos the spot, I won't mind that with the Usos finally getting the titles. And the crowd really loves the Usos. Like I said, not a bad match. 2 stars. 2 stars at best. It was at least watchable. Then the next matchup was something that I like the angle to, and I love the stuff they're doing with Titus O'Neil, but as far as the match, it was not much at all. This was the Darren Young versus Titus O'Neil match. Obviously, this match needed to take place, with Titus O'Neil recently turning on Darren Young, and I love, the heel persona of Titus O'Neil. Love him on the promos. In the ring, he's still a little green, but he's not too bad. And for a big guy, he can somewhat work in the ring. They can, just as long as if you have him in there with someone other than Darren Young and someone that can kind of hide his weaknesses, he can be used pretty good in WWE, and I think WWE sees something in him for the future. As far as the match, started off with kind of a tie-up, and then them going after each other, kind of somewhat of a brawl. I expected it to be more of a brawl than what it was. It turned into a little more of a wrestling match than what it should have been, considering the way it was built up and the hatred that the two feel for each other. It should have been more of a brawl than what it was, but it was probably one of the it wasn't the worst match of the night, because the Divas match was the worst match of the night, but it's definitely probably the second worst match of the night. Titus O'Neil picks up the victory like he should. Hopefully this is the blow-off of this, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil feud, and they just do something else with Titus O'Neil instead of having, another match with these two at WrestleMania. But I would not be surprised if they do go that route. Then the next matchup was the match of the night. This was the Shield versus the Wyatt family and the 6-man tag. Obviously, the thing everyone was looking forward to on this pay-per-view. I mean, other than, obviously, the Chamber match, this was more or less the selling point of the pay-per-view, was this match. And it was awesome stuff. Built up great. I mean, even though you only had 4 weeks and this was kind of hot-shotted, I mean, if they weren't going to be doing Bray Wyatt versus John Cena at WrestleMania, this obviously would have been something you would have wanted to save for WrestleMania, but considering they're doing the teasing up of the breaking of the Shield, thankfully they hot-shotted this. They did some good stuff building up to it, and we actually got the match, and it was a great match on pay-per-view. Most of the match, you saw Seth Rollins in there a lot during this match. He was the person on the Shield side in the ring the most during the whole entire match, until he was taken out at the end of the match. Love the stuff with Luke Harper and Seth Rollins in this match. Bray Wyatt's always great, on the promos and in the ring as well. Dean Ambrose, pretty much leader of the Shield. I liked him, the stuff they did with him and Bray Wyatt. They did, a lot of crazy stuff in this match. Definitely something everyone needs to go out their way to see. The way they had Seth Rollins taken out of the match after he was in there for the most part was the 2 members of the Wyatt family, Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, choke slamming Seth Rollins into the Spanish announce table. So that was pretty much him out of the match. And then before this, you saw Dean Ambrose and Bray Wyatt brawling to the back, and then that pretty much left him out of the game. And then that left Roman Reigns being basically the vulnerable member of the Shield. His 2 other partners are gone, 3-on-1. Obviously, they made him look very strong. He kind of looked like he was going to almost overcome the odds, but he didn't. I love the way they did the end of the match with basically Luke Harper of the Wyatt family basically sacrificing himself for Bray Wyatt, because you saw Roman Reigns about to go for the spear on Luke Harper. Not on Luke Harper, but on Bray Wyatt, and Luke Harper got in the way, basically taking the spear for Bray Wyatt, and then Bray Wyatt ended up hitting Sister Abigail for the win, and the Wyatts pick up the win, just like they should have, and glad we got this match. This was an awesome match, just crazy stuff from, Seth Rollins in here, the Wyatt family, just everyone did some great stuff in here, and this was, a lot of times, tag team matches, you can have awesome stuff, but sometimes it's hard to pull off a 6-man tag and have it be as awesome as this was, and this is definitely something everyone needs to go out their way to see. Definitely match of the night, 4.5 stars. Everyone needs to go out and see that match. Definitely match of the night by far. Even though I did like the Chamber match a lot. Then you had the next match, obviously after the awesomeness of the Shield and Wyatts, you had to have a cool down match, and this was, thrown together Divas match with AJ Lee versus Cameron for the Divas title. AJ Lee retains the title after Tamina Snuka gets involved in the match, costs Cameron her shot, and gets AJ DQ'd. AJ loses via disqualification, but obviously retains the WWE Divas title. Not much of a match, 1 star at best, probably a dud. Definitely worst match of the night. Then the next matchup was not the worst match of the night, but as far as the way the crowd reacted to it, you would probably almost have to categorize it as one of the worst matches of the night just because of the way the crowd shitted on the match. This was Batista versus Alberto Del Rio. I didn't think it was a terrible match, but it was just not a match I could really get into. I mean, the build up to it and everything. This was a match I could care less seeing. It wasn't as bad as I was expecting. I mean, it was at least a watchable match, but just, I mean, when you have a live crowd pretty much, chanting random shit, not really going for either guy. Now, they were going for Alberto Del Rio during parts of this match just because of their hatred of Batista. Whenever Alberto got any action against Batista, that's when the crowd actually did cheer for one of the people. But Batista, got basically the Royal Rumble treatment again tonight. If WWE thinks that if they do Orton and Batista as the main event for WrestleMania, unless they do something tomorrow night to change the plans for that route, the crowd's going to utterly shit on the Mania main event. Hopefully we do not get that match. As far as the Alberto Del Rio and Batista match, like I said, it wasn't a terrible match. It was at least watchable. Batista actually did finally hit the sit-down powerbomb in this match. That was the highlight of the whole entire match, him finally hitting it on Alberto Del Rio. He picks up the win after hitting the Batista bomb. 2 stars, it was watchable. Then the next matchup was the Elimination Chamber match for the WWE title, with the 6 participants being John Cena, Christian, Randy Orton, Daniel Bryan, Cesaro, and Sheamus. The first 2 that started this match, now, I disagreed a little bit with the start of the match, but I did not mind it. It was Sheamus and Cesaro. Obviously, a lot of us probably wanted to see Sheamus and Daniel Bryan start it, but Sheamus and Cesaro did really well with each other. I actually liked the stuff they did with each other. It was like a hard-hitting brawl between both of them with a lot of strikes and stuff. I just love what they did with each other, and they worked a whole lot better starting the match than I thought they would have. Really liked their stuff. And then after Cesaro and Sheamus were the first 2 in the match, the next person that came out was Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan was the next person to come out. Then it was Christian, then John Cena, then Randy Orton. Randy Orton obviously was the last person. Christian eliminates Sheamus, so Sheamus was the first person to get eliminated in this match. Then Daniel Bryan eliminated Christian. Cena eliminates Cesaro. Orton eliminated Cena after the Wyatt's family come in there. You hear their music hit. Lights go out. They appear in the ring. That basically, they cost John Cena his shot in this match. And Orton eliminates Cena after the RKO. And then, obviously, the final 2 were Orton and Daniel Bryan. Before I get to talking about the final 2, let me get to some spots that took place in the match. Really great action from Cena and Cesaro in here, Daniel Bryan and Cesaro. Sheamus did, even though he was the first person eliminated in here, he did a lot of great stuff in here as well. I like the stuff he did. Christian did a frog splash off the top. That was crazy. Obviously, a lot of stuff outside the ring onto the steel. Just a lot of craziness in here, like you would expect in most Elimination Chambers. And then the final 2, like I said, were Orton and Daniel Bryan. The crowd was, very hot here, hoping that Daniel Bryan would, become WWE champion. Obviously, I think most of us watching it knew there was going to be a screw job ending, especially with Kane getting involved in there. Kane came in there towards the end after, Cena was getting, taken out after, the Wyatts costed him his shot. Then you had Kane come out there, basically getting the Wyatts to leave. Kane came into the chamber. Daniel Bryan, took him out there. He actually went off the top rope into Kane with the knee, so that took Kane out for a little bit. Then Kane got back up. Well, actually, he didn't get back up first. What happened was Orton hit the RKO. Orton hit the one RKO. Well, actually, before that, Daniel Bryan was going for the pin, looking like he was going to pick up the win. After after the running knees, then 1, 2, right before 3, Kane breaks it up. Daniel Bryan then looks like it's about to end right here. Orton hits the RKO for the first time, and then goes for the pin. Daniel Bryan actually kicks out of the first RKO. Then at the end, Daniel Bryan's going in the corner. Kane strikes him. Randy Orton hits a second RKO. Orton retains the title. Obviously, fans did not like the ending of the match with Daniel Bryan losing to Randy Orton, but it was a really good main event with the Elimination Chamber. 3 and 3/4 stars, 4-star match. Really enjoyed it. Now onto the way they possibly could save this tomorrow night. Obviously, they're going with this whole Daniel Bryan gets screwed over by the Authority. They've been pushing it really strong this whole entire week with, Daniel Bryan being forced to work 2 matches on Raw, being forced to work 2 matches on SmackDown. The stuff with his shoulder injury and stuff. They played that in this match with Christian working over and a few others as well. And what they possibly can do tomorrow night is Vince McMahon coming out there, overruling on the Authority, giving Daniel Bryan a title shot tomorrow night on Raw against Randy Orton, and Daniel Bryan actually winning the title, especially with the launch of the WWE Network. That would be a great moment for Raw tomorrow night, and that would obviously get a lot of people to check out what's going to happen, what's going on after Raw. Go to WWE.com. Check out the WWE Network, and it would be a great, moment there. And obviously, we're going to see some big stuff tomorrow night, obviously with a lot of big returns. So maybe they can save this for tomorrow night with Daniel Bryan winning. But if they don't go that route, they'll probably, just keep on milking this thing with the crowd. I mean, the crowd's still on Daniel Bryan's side no matter how many times he loses. They're still as loud as ever, so maybe they'll just keep milking this, and then he'll finally win the title at some point. But not a bad event. I would say, about 7.75, maybe an 8 out of 10, because you did have 2 great matches on here. And like I said, the undercard wasn't the greatest, but wasn't terrible. You saw, like I said, those 2 matches that you definitely need to see, the Chamber match and the Wyatts versus the Shield. And that's it for my WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view review. All right, peace.